Oh, give you a little pat on the arm. Don't say that. No, never.
Hey, I can hear you.
Good.
Oh my God.
Oh, I don't pay for suits. My suits are on the house, or the house burns down.
Welcome back
Five,
to the Red.
4.
Welcome back to the Red Right Hand Podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of the Peaky Blinders. I'm Josh,
And I'm Curtis.
and this is a big episode. This is a big one. There was
It's
a lot
a
of
biggie.
stuff. It's a big one.
It's so big,
there's
I
a
got
lot
my
of
Christmas
stuff.
lights out.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this episode that I'd forgotten about that sets up the next season. Yeah, it's just like a few different things that happen. It's kind of interesting because the show tries to follow, historic events going. It's a fictional story taking place in a real time period with real events happening around it.
Yeah.
And I'm almost done with Boardwalk Empire also, and it takes place in pretty much the same time frame. It's like it's like 1918 or 19, something like that, whenever it starts, and then when it's over, it's like the early 30s.
Boardwalk Empire?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So kind of in the same time frame. And especially here in this season when they're dealing with prohibition and stuff, and wanting to export alcohol to America, and that's kind of their whole reasoning for that is because prohibition's happening at the time. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on in this episode.
Let's get
a lot of
into
things. There's also so many things that I
Quit
like.
beating around the bush, man.
That I don't know how I didn't realize the first time. Like
Okay.
on first watch, like there were a lot of things that I thought happened that they reversed. And yeah, I was like sold on a lot of that stuff,
Okay.
So this is one of the few, we always talk about, especially with the end of season 3, we talked about how seasons 1 and 2, those finales are kind of anticlimactic. Yeah, and everything's on the front. Like what's going to happen. In the first season, they have the standoff with Billy Kimber, and you kind of know what's going to happen then and there.
Right.
In season 2, it's with Sabini, and whenever they take everything over in the end, they have, I think they're having that party at the garrison, and he and Michael talk, and he tells him that he's going to marry Grace. Yeah, and even last season, I feel like they didn't set you up with, there's a couple twists and turns, but they don't do anything as big up until this point as they do in this episode. As far as trying to like fake you out with stuff and yeah. I mean, I can't think of another time in the show that it's been this heavy-handed.
Right. At least not till this next season.
Yeah, which I'll have to take your word for that.
Well, I mean, just like it really leaves you on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, I just don't remember anything from next season, so yeah.
We'll
I just have to take your word for it.
Soon.
So last episode left off with they're getting set up for the boxing match, right?
They're just about to start it.
Okay. So we pick up this episode right where we left off. This is the beginning of the match. Everybody does their walk-ins. And then Tommy and Alfie talk for a few minutes before the fight. And Alfie tells Tommy that he's getting out of there. He doesn't stay and watch the fights, these fights that he puts on and puts together. And then he's also telling Tommy right there that he's bailing, right?
Yeah, because he talks about going to Margate and basically kind of retiring.
Yeah. So he's planning on dipping out, which I don't know. He says there are a couple good things he says there. A couple things he gives, Tommy. He says now that the Americans are here, like it's all over. Like,
Yeah.
this is pretty much done. And the other thing he said was he told Tommy, I already know how this fight's gonna go. It's been this way ever since the war. Big always fucks small.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and in their situation, like the New York Mafia it's a lot bigger than them.
Right.
Which is weird to think about. Like I don't know, everything that we've seen of the Blinders so far up to this point, like they have an insane amount of men at their disposal.
Right.
Like their territories are very large. They're moving a lot of money. Like I don't know, the comparison just like seems odd. And they've already killed all of the blood relatives that came with Luca, like
Yeah.
everybody after this is just going to be like hired guns. And so I don't know, it doesn't seem like as like they're definitely dangerous, and it's a different element that they haven't really had to deal with yet. They know kind of what the Italians are going to do based on their interactions with Sabini.
Mm-hmm.
But they're bringing some new stuff to the table for them, throwing some different stuff at them that they're not used to, and they catch them by surprise. That's how they get John. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it should be as big of a threat as it is. Like they've already built the Blinders up to this point to have like an army underneath them.
Right, but that's kind of the thing too, is like it always seems like every season they're coming up against something that's bigger and badder and more competitive, than the last person was. You know what I'm saying? And the Mafia is just kind of a thing too, where it's like, oh crap. I think it's coming.
Our old friend, is it time for our ad read?
There it is, man.
Oh man, this episode's brought to you by Adobe Flash Player.
Let me tell you something, man. If you need a window to interrupt your podcast, Adobe Flash Player is more than happy to interrupt it for you. You can go to adobeflashplayer.com. Click in what were we saying last week? The free trial, 30-day free trial. No money. No money back guarantee. You will probably lose your money after that. But don't worry, we'll be interrupting every podcast from here till eternity. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I think Mafia thing's a big deal, though, man. I think it's more than what a lot of people realize, and it's even though I mean, I get what you're saying too, of like, well, they killed off, all the blood relatives, so like the rest of them are just gonna be hired men. But that's the thing about it, it's like they've got an army of hired men. And I understand that the Peakies are basically the same way, but you're talking about the Mafia, man.
I guess another thing I didn't really consider about that is the Changretta blood relatives are dead. You know,
Mhm.
the New York Mafia consists of more than just the
Yeah,
Changretta family. It's
that's the
probably
thing
like
about it.
5
It's
or
not
6
just them.
families.
Right, yeah.
But no, well, I don't know, man. It's tough to tell. Like I realize this is just a show, and if you
Well,
start
and I
digging
think
too deep into stuff, like you're gonna have a bunch of questions. But
right.
they mention later on that there are 2 families in New York who want to turn over their business, who want to take them out. And if we're talking about a situation where the group that Luca is with is comprised of many families, then how would just those 2 like hope to overturn the whole thing?
Yeah, I
Like
don't
I guess
know.
that's like part of the point was they wanted to outsource that job to the blinders, but how are they going to take care of a large force like that in New York?
Right. But I think the other thing too is like throughout history, the word mafia carries so much weight that like it's got a reputation of just like the worst thing out there. And there's been some horrific things, involved with mafias, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like this mafia is like as big as we may really make it seem to be. I don't know.
I mean, this is like the beginning of organized crime in America,
Right.
you
So
know?
maybe it's just kind of in its inception too.
Yeah.
Because I think there was the other thing too is like in World War One, and then Prohibition really kind of sparked a lot of, like you said, organized crime and everything like that. So maybe that's kind of where it sparked from, at least in America, because a lot of that stuff came from homelands over in Europe, brought over with families to the New World.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah. They they talk about it like all the things that they were running from just followed them.
right,
In like a lot of those cases, like the wars that they were fighting in their home country just followed them to America.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, Alfie's getting out of there. The fight starts. Um, most of this episode, well, I would say I think it's about half of the episode all takes place at the boxing match. Um, so we're kind of cutting back and forth between the first 3 rounds of the fight because he's supposed to take a dive in the 4th, right? Or no, he's supposed to win in the 4th, right?
yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know if this was like continuity error or if they'll talk about it at some other point, but Abraham Gold told Bonnie to finish him in the 3rd round, and it was supposed to be the 4th. Like the blinders had told Bonnie that it would be the 4th.
Maybe it has to do with because Johnny Dogs is working the bets pretty hard there in between rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was a deal where they kind of screwed around with like how it was actually is supposed to end up going to try to get more money. I don't know. I'm not really
Yeah,
sure
I noticed
how
that
that
it was kind of
was.
weird. I
Yeah,
was like, they said 4th and he said 3rd. So yeah, I don't
yeah.
know what was up with that. But I
Personally,
can't imagine
I would.
that's something that's mentioned next season, so it can't be
Yeah,
anything.
no. You were talking about like half the episode being the fight. I would say more of like it's cut into 3 parts. Whereas like the first third is the fight. The second third is like the aftermath of the fight, and then the third part is kind of the cleanup after their dealings with Luca.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the end of the episode is a lot longer than I remember it being.
Mhm. Yeah, because they end up kind of solving the whole Luca thing probably about halfway through the whole episode
Yeah.
because it comes on
Um,
quicker than you might expect.
yeah. The ladies have a little meeting in the bathroom. uh, Polly has Lizzie tell Ada that she's pregnant with Tommy's child. Polly tells her that it's going to be a girl. She uses, her weird gypsy insight there to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then Linda comes in, and I forgot about this, but she just throws down and starts doing some coke on the counter there. I didn't realize that she'd gotten to that point. And is she in the next season?
Yeah, she is.
Okay. I was like, I couldn't remember if she was
Yeah,
in the
she
next one
is.
or not. I thought she was. I honestly kind of thought she was gone by now. I couldn't remember.
No, I mean, she's not in like a whole lot of next season's episodes, but she's part of a kind of a plot with Arthur on the side of like the main plot.
Yeah.
A side story, I guess you could say.
So Arthur is kind of freaking out this whole time. He feels like the guys, he's got good intuition, like, because this was the play they made. But the corner men for Alfie's fighter Goliath don't act like boxing trainers, like they don't act like their guy, and they seem disinterested. They don't really seem to care if he's winning or not. So Arthur's got a bad feeling about him. At the start of the third round, Arthur follows one of the men as he goes into the back of the hall, back some of the back rooms. And while he's investigating it, he winds up getting attacked from behind. What is that called? A garrote?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but it's essentially like just piano wire between like two bands, like a piece of wire.
Yeah.
And he gets it around Arthur's throat. And Arthur manages to get a hand kind of up in there before he can close it all the way. So he's able to get it, kind of off his throat for a while. But yeah, they lead you to believe, like in that moment, that Arthur's dead. That he's had his throat cut because he stops moving. I think he just plays dead real good there in the end. Kind of see if he might be able to get out of it, but Tommy comes in, shoots that guy. Then I guess Polly noticed him leaving, I think. And then she came out to see what was going on, and Tommy tells her what's happened. Again, they're kind of leading you to believe that Tommy's telling each of them that Arthur's dead, he does tell several of them that Arthur's dead. What do they say in the end? That only Polly and Linda knew about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and so is it Isaiah? Isaiah and Finn grabbed the other guy. It was one of the other corner men who was out there in the hall also. And they said he also had a wire in his pocket. So they've got him held there, and Tommy just goes to beating the hell out of him. And then he has Finn cut his eyes out with his razor cap. And I noticed that this was a little bit of a turning point for Finn. Because before he was telling Arthur, like, I'm not like you guys, like, I'm not John, like, I can't be that guy, and he really looked like he was enjoying it while Tommy was beating the hell out of him. And then even after he cut the guy's eyes out, he looked pretty happy about that too. And then if I remember right, you kind of see a more confident, a little bit more tough Finn from here on out.
Yeah.
I think he's just more in after this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but he just hasn't, it's different for Finn because he's not them, he didn't grow up in the war like they did.
Yeah.
Tommy comes out, fires some shots, he's trying to put on this facade
on a front.
So he's got to make a big deal, and he fires a few shots, says that Arthur's been killed, and then they just kind of go full send with it. They have like a funeral procession cart that's like going around through the streets, and people are like putting flowers on and everything. Is it possible to pause the video for just a sec?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, we're back.
Intermission is over. Oh yeah, the funeral cart. So one of the things, like, watching it this time through, that I was like, oh, I should have known the first time, because I was sold. Like, the first time I watched this,
he's dead.
Yeah, I thought Arthur was dead too. I was like, why not? Like, why not?
No, I didn't think he was dead. I knew he wasn't dead.
I was probably fresh off of like a season of Game of Thrones, and I was like, yeah, why not? Yeah, just kill everybody. Sure, they'll just kill all your favorite characters. Why not? So you'll have to help me remember. Do they show John's body after he's dead? Like, do they show him at the funeral at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember they showed inside. They showed inside the cart.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was dressed in his uniform and everything.
Okay, that should have been the first indicator for me then that Arthur was still alive. Yeah, it was like they never show you a body.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the funeral procession, and that kind of leads us into the next part of this, like you were talking about, the
part 2,
like the next third, the post match. Tommy called her, right?
Yes, he called him. Well, first off, I think right before that they sent. Remember, didn't they send Michael to America first before he called her? I think they did.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because that's a very important part to me. Rewatching this scene with Michael really set you up for next season between him and Tommy.
I feel like the Michael part of next season is like the only part that I remember.
Okay.
So yeah, Paulie makes a call to Michael, tells him he's going to be picked up, there's been a change in plans, Arthur's dead. They bring him back, and Tommy just tells him that he's going to be taking a position in New York. And he's basically sending him away because he kind of betrayed him, you know? I mean, like, kind of. That was another thing I wanted to talk about, because they put him in this weird position, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
because it's like they both knew the plan. They both knew about Tommy and Polly were in on the plan.
yeah,
Where it's like, you know, at the beginning it's like we weren't led to believe that, obviously, till later.
yeah.
But and then at the same time, it's like Michael didn't know, you know, so he's put in a really tough position, you know, because he loves his mom, but at the same time, it's like you can tell he really admires Tommy, you
It
know,
was like they,
but it's
yeah,
tough. I
it's
don't
like
know.
pretty, yeah, because before, the way I remembered it was like, oh, yeah, no, he straight up, like, betrayed him, you know? Like, but they played him opposite ways, both knowing the same thing.
Yeah,
Like, Polly played him first to tell him that, like, this was going down, that she was doing this, like, that she was committing this, you know, and that, like, she was going to get them out of there.
right.
Then Tommy comes to test him to see if he'll say it, and he doesn't, because of, like, his loyalty. Yeah, his loyalty to them, but his loyalty to his mother, like, first of all. And she's like, that's the messed up part, is like he's being loyal to her, and Tommy is basically punishing him for being loyal to her when she wasn't betraying him in the first place. It would make sense for him to punish Michael if Polly had actually betrayed him and he went along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's really complicated. I don't
It
know,
is
because then
complicated. It
I
just
wonder at
doesn't
the same
seem,
time. I just wonder at the
it
same
doesn't
time,
seem
it's
fair.
like
It
if
doesn't seem
this
right.
right, but I just wonder this whole time if they were, you know, this whole season is the um can't think of the word. Family is a big whatever of this season, topic of this season, I guess you could say. Because, you know, they talk about, you know, we got to come together. We got, you know, if you don't trust your family, then who else do you trust? You know, basically. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of points where it's like the family ties were really, I mean, obviously they came into it with tense family ties, you know, because
Mhm.
of what happened at the end of last season. And then you got the whole thing of, you know, Michael basically thinking that, I mean, everybody's basically saying, I mean, the audience is basically thinking that Polly's betraying Michael or Tommy. And then you got the whole
Mhm.
thing with Arthur kind of going back and forth with Tommy and then the rest of the family about pulling the trigger,
Yeah.
you know, to kill Luca. I mean, there's just a lot of, you know, family stuff going on there. So I just kind of wonder too, at the same time, is like, you know, yeah, Michael's blood, but he hasn't been in this family for maybe a year, you know, a year or two, maybe. I don't know. And so I don't know, maybe if like at the same time they're trying to test the waters to see, you know, for future too, if like, are you, would you betray us? Would, if you knew that somebody was going to kill me, would you not tell me? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot to it, to be honest, but I hear what you're saying too, though. But
Yeah. It's a weird situation that they put him in.
yeah,
So they're gonna be sending Michael off to America, and Tommy doesn't give him any more than that. He's like, "This is when you're leaving. This is the train you're gonna take. You're gonna get on this ship, and then that's it." Um, so they get him out. And then, like we were saying at the funeral, so after he talks to Michael, he makes a call, and you don't know who he's calling, but it's somebody in America. Um, she got there fast.
yeah, she did
What was up with that?
teleportation.
Like, how long is a
Although at
ship?
this,
At least a couple
right,
weeks,
but
right?
right, but it's right, but at the same time, I think again, it's they waited for her to come on that day. They basically, I think basically it's like we're waiting for her, and when we get notification that she's here, then we're gonna do this funeral. You know,
Okay.
it's I think
Yeah.
again, it's just again that's the pageantry. You know, because
Yeah.
you know, then she'll be taking that back to Luca or whoever else and telling them, oh yeah, they were having a big deal, you know, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So Mrs. Changretta comes, they have a sit down with her, and Tommy's basically saying that they're going to surrender. And her terms are that they give up everything. They turn over all their businesses, everything they've acquired and put together over the years. It all goes to the Changrettas. I like the line that they had between them where Tommy said the vendetta is over. And she said, we prefer to think of it as the vendetta is won.
One.
And so, yeah, in that moment, again, they're kind of setting you up for everything here, but he agrees to it. And then Luca and his men just start steamrolling over everybody. They go to Alfie's to take over his distillery, and he's not there. I do love the move, though. Like, you know, that's something that they did. That's something that they did in the Army anyway. You know, and Tommy talks about there's that in, is it season 1 with Billy Kimber where, or no, it's not Billy Kimber. It's the Lee family, where they piss off the Lees at the fair, and then next thing you know, they have a booby trap, and it winds up being in the car, but they think they have it in their shop.
Well, right. So what they do is they send you the pin of a grenade, and then it's kind of like, oh crap, where's the grenade at?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's a big tease, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
one
threat
of
is
them.
real,
But
but
the
it's just
one
like,
that,
man,
yeah, that's one of them. But the one they did in the first season was they left wire cutters
oh
because
yeah, you're right.
it was on. I can't remember what kind of grenades those are. It's like the stick, you know.
Mm.
Um,
Frag.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, it's on one of those and attached to a wire so that it like pulls it, you know, whatever the firing mechanism is on that. But yeah, but it would leave wire cutters behind, like as a joke, you know, to let them know like you're in a trap.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, Alfie Solomons basically did the same thing to them here. He bailed and he left a grenade attached to is like the door to his office.
Basically, yeah, it was a door. It's somewhere in there was a door, but probably to their office. Yeah.
Yeah. Luca catches it, but Alfie did lay that trap for him before he left. So now they've got his businesses.
Yeah, I remember reading one time about World War II Nazi soldiers would leave booby traps connected to like dead soldiers of like Allied troops or whatever. So like, you know, you got your dog tag, right? So somehow they would rig a grenade or whatever to that because they knew, especially Americans, they knew that when they came across their dead, they would take their dog tags off. That way they can give it to whoever to count, you know, who it was that is dead or whatever. So that way when you rip it off, it would blow up. I mean, that's just crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Anyway.
Um, yeah, and then just a short little side scene there. Lizzie comes in. She's mad that Tommy hasn't been visiting her. And Paulie tells her they're busy putting things together for the following day. She says that the Changrettas have rolled over everybody now. They rolled over Alfie, Sabini, and somebody that they called the Titanics. I don't know what that is. Do you?
Familiar. I don't know, but
she said, yeah, that was the other one that she listed in those names. So it's got to be somebody fairly substantial. Maybe another London outfit.
Some was your. Come on. God dang it. Some gang there.
It was just weird that we hadn't heard anything about them up until she just mentions them offhand here,
Right.
Unless they're a newer gang or something. But you got to imagine somebody new, especially in that area, wouldn't have much of a foothold with the Sabini and Solomons and the Blinders there. Plus, you've got a bunch of Irish gangs that are all throughout those territories.
There's some Irish gang, apparently. We'll hear their name again the next season, apparently.
Okay, cool. We'll at least get a little bit more there. And yeah, it's just a short scene there to let you know that they've it's not just Alfie that it was like Alfie said in the beginning, they were going to come, or I guess Tommy said in the beginning, they're going to come for everybody.
Do you think they killed Sabini?
I mean, made it sound probably
like they did. It almost sounded like they did, and now I was kind of thinking you never really hear about them ever again.
Yeah, maybe they just rolled right over them.
Yeah, because now I kind of wondered that that's what they were going to do to Alfie too. We're checking your business and we're going to kill you.
Probably.
Because if you think about it, that's what they were going to do to Tommy and the gang.
Yeah.
So.
So then we have the meeting. Do you want to talk about the scene a little bit?
It's just, what is it? Tommy, let's hear Tommy, Finn, and Paulie.
Yeah.
Waiting, and then of course, Luca and his hired men come
Luca and the jabronis.
Luca and the jabronis. Cool the word. So they come rolling in. Of course, he does the whole thing of, you're going to sign over the papers. He decides, no, you're not going to sign them here on the table. I want you to get on your knees and sign them. Like you're basically begging for mercy. And that's when they bring up the whole thing about calling about the two families in New York, which you may know more than me because I kind of lost track when they start talking about that. But those guys that are with Luca, I mean, they're basically betraying him, right?
Yes, those guys are only hired guns though. Right. They're not, I don't think they're members of any of those families. They're just men who work for those families. It's like in Romeo and Juliet, how they have the Montagues, whatever their guys' names are. There's 3 or 4 of them that like rep for them, but they're
Yeah.
not Montagues.
Right. I know
And
what you're saying.
so, yeah, it's like that.
Okay.
They're, they stand for them and they're like a part of the family, but they're not blood in any of those families. They're probably
Right.
just Italian or Sicilian, and yeah.
So anyway, they basically let Luca know that they're working for those guys are working for those two families now that basically are going to topple your organization in New York. And,
Mhm.
you're basically on your own now between all of us. And, of course, as they start kind of fighting him and Luca, they both kind of get some good punches in and everything. And I always thought it was kind of funny too, because like, I don't know, they got some like, I don't know if it's like a lead pipe on the ground or whatever. Tommy picked up and, swiped the gun from Luca's hand, and they start kind of beating each other with that pipe, kind of going back and forth. But then there was a point where like Luca had the pipe and he hit him 3 or 4 times, and like in the background, like standing like a foot away is Finn and Polly, and they're just like standing there watching. It's like, what are you doing?
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, why isn't anybody
Yeah.
doing anything?
Yeah,
It's
why is
like
nobody doing
literally
anything,
everybody
man?
in this room is on your side now, except for Luca.
Right. The dudes behind him had like Tommy guns, So, but
Yeah.
anyway, so while they're all doing that, of course, then a blurry silhouette figure comes walking in, and lo and behold, it's a ghost. It's the ghost of Arthur Shelby,
Yeah.
and he's come for your soul. No, but he comes in, and lo and behold, he gets his wish, and he gets to pull the trigger on old Luca Shangretta and kills him.
Yeah.
And pops open a I don't know what you want to call that, a keg in the background. Oh, what a
I
waste.
know. I was like, oh, yeah.
Ah, I can hear Shelby or Thomas just getting mad at him. What are you doing?
Yeah. Damn it, Arthur. Did you have to, you couldn't step like 2 feet to your right and shot him?
Right, exactly. And
What's
then they lift Arthur up on his shoulders, and yeah.
what were you said you needed some clarification on like something with the families or
Oh, just a second ago?
yeah.
I was talking about
Was
when
it
Tommy and Polly said something about, they talked to those two families
Mhm.
that we were just talking about at the beginning of this episode that
Yeah.
were basically wanting to overtake Luca and his mafia or whatever.
Yeah.
And excuse me, that's when I was saying something about I couldn't remember. Excuse me. Couldn't remember what the dialogue was. I always get kind of lost when they start talking at that point for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if they said like they made a deal with them or what the thing was. Oh, but then the other thing too that we left out was they talked to a businessman in old Chicago, Illinois,
Mhm.
who was looking to get into the New York liquor business.
Mhm.
And what's his name? Alfonso
Alphonse Capone.
Capone. Yeah. But anyway, I usually could kind of get lost in kind of that dialogue for some, I don't know why. Every time I watch it, I always kind of get lost. I'm like, wait, what did they say? I'm like, I don't really want to rewind.
So yeah, I mean, you've got most of it there. They reached out to these other two families because they had gotten word that they wanted Changretta's business,
Right.
that they wanted to take over. But if they moved against him in New York, there would be a war between all of the families.
It has to die at a vendetta.
Yeah. So that was the role that Tommy was going to play,
Okay.
for them.
Okay.
And in order for them to buy his gin, he was basically going to have to kill Luca. And then, Capone is just kind of like a separate part of that. It's just, they have more support for killing him. I mean, that's pretty much it. They're basically just going to do the killing in exchange for a new business agreement with the guys who are taking over.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
boop, 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 boop. Yep, and like you were saying, the Arthur comes in, kills Luca. And that's it. They finally kind of managed to find a way around that. So you're going to move into the third part, like you were talking about. This is the post stuff. Everything that happens is a result of the stuff they dealt with this season and the stuff that's going to set you up for
next season.
The main stuff going on in the fifth. At the after party, Arthur tells them that Tommy gave him a choice to leave and start a new life. Since Arthur Shelby is technically dead, he could leave and start something new for themselves, but he decides to stay instead. And he also wants Tommy to take some time off and just try and relax after everything is over. It's been years and years and years of all this, so I just thought it was funny, like the look on Tommy's face, like it's not over. Like I have still have some stuff to do.
You gonna send me on vacation?
Yeah. He didn't look very happy.
No. And the following scenes show that for sure.
Yeah. Well, before he takes his little vacation, he tracks down Alfie.
True.
And he was right where he said he'd be.
Hawgate.
Yeah. So Tommy goes there to kill him because he betrayed them again. He brought in Luca's men to the fight to kill Arthur. And they have a small back and forth. Alfie says he has cancer, but is that even true?
Yeah, I believe he does, because I think he talks about it in the next season too. Okay. Oops, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really remember. But they have just a quick back and forth. Tommy asks if he's armed. He says no, just I'm armed with cancer. Like I'm just, real sick.
Riddled with it.
And yeah, so Tommy's trying to get him to face him when he's going to kill him. And when he finally gets him to face him, Alfie pulls a quick one and shoots him in the arm. But when he shoots Tommy in the arm, Tommy shoots him in the face. Like the left side, like right under the eye, kind of right in here.
The cheek. Goes all the way back to almost a year.
Yeah. They both drop, but Tommy gets up and walks away from it. Presumably, he's leaving Alfie dead there. And then we're gonna get to what you were talking about. 3 months later,
Vacation time.
This is classic Tommy behavior. No, he's been through a lot. It's hard to say. You're on the outside. It's hard to say, yeah, you shouldn't turn to, like you did in the past, like heavy amounts of opium and morphine, or you shouldn't turn to super heavy drinking. But it's a whole nother level of being messed up when you were a tunneler, when you thought you were dead multiple times, whenever you come back and get shot multiple times. You're dealing with the death of your wife who got shot with a bullet that was meant for you.
Well, and the
You know.
problem is, it's like he told Arthur when he gets back from his vacation, golf is easy and fishing is boring, you know? So it's like after that, then he just kind of sits around doing nothing but drinking. And the bad thing is, like, when you have a mind and what you've been through, when you've been through the things that Tommy have been through, war and all that killing and, you know, almost dying several times, the worst thing you can do is do nothing, because then you have too much time on your hands for your mind to wander. I mean, there was that point when he was fishing and nearby some of those guys were hunting with dogs and shooting, you know, and it's like all of a sudden he had this war flashback and he thought he heard, you know, bombs going off and of course the guns and everything. And it's like he can't get this stuff out of his mind. And so, like I said, it's like the worst thing that you can do is just sit there and do nothing and have nothing to really occupy your mind. Well, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, go golfing, go fishing or whatever. It's peaceful. It's like he doesn't like that stuff. The only thing that's going to be able to make him cope with what he's had to deal with is the business. You know, it's like I can't take vacation. I have to always have something to do in terms of my business, in terms of moving up the ladder or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, like you were saying, he tries the golfing, he tries the fishing, and he just can't be idle after everything that's happened. Yeah, and then he just kind of falls deep into it. You know, it's a combination of a lot of things paired with just copious amounts of drinking.
well, and I think the worst part of it too is like everybody around him just thinks, oh, you're sick. You know, they all want him to go to a doctor and everything. It's like, I'm not going to a doctor. It's like it's like you people don't understand what I've been through because you weren't there at the war. You know, Polly, again, with the whole Polly thing, it's like you can keep comparing yourself to us all you want now that you've been in the news. But it's like you don't know what it's like to have gone through the things that Tommy and Arthur and John and all them went through, you know, just starting with the war and then from there on.
Yeah. So yeah, he falls into it hard. And I do like that the one thing that always seems like it can pull Tommy out of this, like when he's in that state, is Charlie. You know, his son, not Uncle Charlie.
No, I know you're saying
young Charlie. And yeah, because before that was the deal. Whenever he had gotten hooked on the morphine, after he'd been in the hospital, the day he finally poured it down the drain, he was sitting in bed with Charlie, and he was looking at Charlie, looked at the bottle, and then immediately like poured it down the drain, you know?
Yeah.
Because he knows he's got to be a father for him there. Like he can't be the absent dad that he had.
Well, and the bad thing is like, I think in that scene where he's really super drunk and he ends up cutting his hand on the bottle and Charlie walks in on him, I just always kind of felt like, because in this next season, you see a lot of resentment from Charlie to his dad. And I think that, you know, between the whole, you know, the drugs and the drinking and everything, and then, you know, he wasn't there. I mean, he's not there for his son, man. Yeah, there may be a couple of scenes where we see him, but it's like at the same time, it's like any person that's got a maid always seems to dump their kids on the maid, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like they have no relationship with them, you know? But, you know, you're really going to see that in the next season where it's like you can tell Charlie resents him and he doesn't like his dad.
How many years is it between seasons, do you know?
I don't remember. We'll just have
I
to
mean, if you had
see
to
if
gauge
there's.
like Charlie's age, what do you think?
I mean, what year are we in now though?
I don't know. Like, is he a teenager next season?
Charlie? Oh no. He's still young. I would say he'd be like 6 or 7, 5, 6 or 7, maybe 7 or 8,
Next season?
9 or 10. Yeah, next season I think he's like maybe 8. I'm gonna say 8.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a teenager yet. Because I think the thing is like I think this next season is like early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when does World War II kick off? Is it
39
38?
officially. No, 39
Okay.
officially is when they invaded uh
Okay.
Denmark and Belgium and all, or not Denmark, Belgium and Netherlands. Yeah.
1939 in review.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of you were saying, Paulie just says this kind of stuff's just in our blood. We're gonna we're gonna have demons. Like we've got problems, but how we get by is you accept that. She says you shake hands with the devil and you walk by him. Yeah, you just have to accept that, and by accepting it, you're able to overcome it, at least in a way,
Right.
or at least able to get by. And then Tommy just basically says he's not going to rest, and he gets back to work. He has a note sent to Jesse Eden saying that he wants to meet. And this was some stuff I'd kind of forgotten about. He says he wants to have the meeting. He wants to meet with basically the people who are the leaders of this cell, the people who at the top of this group who want an armed revolution.
Right.
And then she's super into it, and they bang. She's like, "Oh man, he's totally down for the cause." Is she in the next season?
I think in only like one episode. It's like the
Okay.
last episode and for like a brief moment. I think they, more than anything, they just mention her name here and there. But yeah, I think she's only
Okay.
in one episode and it's the very last one.
Okay. And then who's this guy that Tommy's talking with?
He's that dude who's at the very beginning of the season when he gets woken up by like that. I don't know what that guy would be to him or whatever. But anyway, when he gets a note from King George about stopping the hangings. I don't know what he is exactly. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I just can't
But
remember who he
he's
is.
obviously up high in the
Yeah.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
But he's obviously high enough that Tommy tells him what he wants to hear and is able to what does he do? Forget now. Well, he basically tells this guy, he's like, I could be of good use to you, because I'm getting this information and I can get any information that you're wanting, and then next thing you know, he's running for office.
Yeah. What's he running for?
Is it a spot in Parliament?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember
Is he like
them being in I think he's like a representative of like their
the
district
Socialist
maybe or
Party?
whatever. Well, he's in the Labor Party. I mean, I don't know if he would.
Okay, that's
I don't know.
right.
It's
That's
weird.
right.
Well, I don't know. It's weird because like, isn't that like kind of considered Communist Party though? Labor Party.
I mean, it sounds like it would be, but I
Well,
don't
but
really
here's the thing
know.
about it, it's like,
Parliament is
but
kind of a
they
weird
wouldn't.
thing, man. Like, what do they
Yeah,
do? They have all these different like representatives from like different like unions or like
I don't know. All I
I
know
don't
is like
understand.
I just remember at the very end when they're counting when they're talking about tallying the votes and who got what. They're saying the names and then what party they represent, and the one right before him was somebody in the Communist Party. So that's why I was a little confused. I'm like, well, isn't Labor kind of considered communist, socialist, or whatever? But I don't know. I'm not a political guy, so
Also, those are not the same thing. Communism and socialism. I know a
obviously
lot of
I'm
people
not a
like to
political
kind
guy,
of
man.
pair them hand in hand, but they're not even close to the same thing. Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. He gets voted in at the end there. Do they say that he won at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
they named how many votes they got, and he got like, I mean, it was a landslide basically.
Okay, I didn't remember that. I remember the part where they were voting for him, and then afterwards where they're all like super happy walking down the stairs, and everybody's like, "Yeah, we did it."
Yeah.
Like, man, those people were really pumped to vote.
Rock the vote.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that just kind of sets us up for season 5. It'll be like watching a brand new season because I have no idea what. I remember the stuff with Michael, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just bits and pieces I remember, so a lot of it'll be brand new to me too. Because I think I've only watched the season one time through, and that's it. Just when it was brand new. So I don't think I've seen it since.
Yeah,
but yeah,
be like a whole new show.
Yeah, and then season 6 will come out, and it will be 100% new.
Yeah. What do you think? Spring?
That's kind of what I was hearing. Was like it was going to hit Netflix in like spring, maybe March, April.
Hopefully, we don't run into too many in between weeks, because the way we're at, there's 6 more episodes after this, and if we continue the way we have, we'll have 8 more episodes because we'll have 2 in betweens.
Yeah.
Then we'll probably do a couple episodes after. Hopefully by that time we're starting to get teasers and maybe even a trailer, so we can start breaking down some of the teasers and the trailer.
There's already one little small clip out. Have you not seen it?
Yeah, isn't it? Is it Alfie and Tommy or something like that?
No, it's Tommy and Ada.
Oh, maybe I haven't seen it yet.
Here, I'll send it to you real quick.
But we'll be watching some of those and maybe giving some predictions. And after watching season 5, I'll at least remember where the story feels like it's going.
Let me go ahead and give you some, because I'm going to forget by the time we get to the end of season 5. Okay, so do you remember what happens at the end of season 5? So it's a big cliffhanger, and it's kind of like, who betrayed Tommy,
No.
Okay, so I don't know. Anyway, so at the very end of season 5, it's like they were going to kill the fascist guy.
If you haven't seen season 5 yet, you need to end the podcast right here. Just turn it off, walk away, and you can watch the 5th season along with us as we break it down. But if you're rewatching, Continue.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. Let me just say this. Tommy gets he feels like he's gotten betrayed at the end of season 5. He feels like somebody's ratted his plan out. And it dawned on me in this last season of ours that we've been covering that you said something that stuck in the back of my mind until just the other day. And it made me wonder if this is actually who it is that betrayed him or whatever. But you talked about before about, Section D and the Oddfellows and everything was a big thing in season 3. I mean, that was the big main bad guy besides the Russians, I guess you could say. And then in season 4, it's just like, you don't hear anything about them, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that they're tied to that betrayal. But it's funny because the show really leads you to believe that Michael is the one that ends up betraying Tommy in the end. But I really think it's something about the Oddfellows in Section D.
Okay.
Because again, it's like you don't hear anything about him at all in this season. Of course, we're dealing with something totally different from that, but it's weird that you don't hear any type of rumblings besides maybe the very first episode. Well, no, you don't even hear about the first episode. I'm thinking of the last episode of last season when when they're all getting arrested and Tommy tells Arthur that it's like, we're dealing with people that are, really powerful, but they don't control the judges. They don't control Parliament, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And then Tommy says, I've made a deal with people who are more powerful than our enemies.
So I think it's kind of a thing where it's now they've gone quiet this whole season. They're still there, but they've gone quiet. So it's like while it's quiet on their front, maybe they're kind of growing into something bigger, Yeah. So I don't know. But that's my prediction right here, right now. Yeah. Because I think it's the Oddfellows Section D, wherever you want to call them.
And if it's a cliffhanger, it would be too obvious for it to be Michael.
Right.
I mean, that's what they've been building to, is like a resentment between them almost,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that would be too obvious, I feel like. So I think it's going to be somebody else. I mean, it could have been. It's always Alfie. Alfie always.
Well, that's what I always thought too, because he is in that last episode, and so you're kind of like, but yeah. I think there's several different kind of like things.
Season.
Right. But there's several different, like, I think roads that they kind of leave like open that you could go down. Like, man, there was one that I had heard some conspiracy theory or one, not conspiracy, but like one theory I heard on Reddit was like somebody thought it was Johnny Dogs because Aberamagold died, and they're like, well, he doesn't like Aberamagold, and it's like, what? But like, I don't understand. Why would it be him though? It makes no sense. I don't know. I don't think it was that, but like, it's fun to read some of those like really weird. Actually, you know what? I think I had told you, or I think I had sent you or told you about one where I'd read where somebody said, Grace is not dead. She's like, she comes from that like operative background. And so she's been playing dead this whole time, but for some reason it's coming back around betraying Tommy again or something. Yeah, that just seems way too far-fetched. But
I feel like it'll be something where you're like, oh, but it won't be anything where you're like, oh my God, like that's just not the show's MO. Like, it doesn't drop these massive things on you. They're like, what? It's all within the realm of possibility. So
right. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the schedule. Next week we'll be doing a tiny sode. For 6 weeks after that, we'll be doing the rewatch of the episodes and the breakdown for season 5. Then week after that, we'll be doing another tiny sode. And then a few weeks of speculation. We'll just go through some teasers and hopefully have a trailer out by then. Go through cast lists and stuff. We go through the cast list. That'll give you an idea of who we'll be dealing with this season. returning characters, people who could potentially have betrayed Tommy. So a lot more. Just those will be some fun episodes. I feel like, sometimes when we do these, it's like, okay, well, you sit down and we'll go through each episode and talk about each little part, but everybody's seen it. We know what it is. There's not too much speculation, to give to stuff. You could say, hey, well, what do you think this meant? But I think it'll be fun to theorize about stuff for a few weeks and just have a discussion on some things we think or theories or.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. What's next week? Tee us up for that tiny sode.
It's a surprise. You have to come back if you really want to know what the surprise is. There may be a there may be a special guest. I don't know. Maybe
there might be a special guest.
Maybe 50-50.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for season 4, episode 6, and the end of season 4 as a whole. I'll be back next week with that tiny sode, like I said. Until then, you can follow us over on YouTube. The main channel is Survived by Productions, or you can just go search the Red Right Hand Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Red Right Hand PO1. You can find me over on Twitter. Hopefully, it'll be down at the bottom. At Joshua Lynn Gary at Twitter. And one of these days I'll get back to Twitch. You can go follow me over there at GhostLad676. Yep. We'll see you guys next week.
That sounds like you're peeing, man.
I'm filling up the water.